Hello, this is a message for someone who struggles with faith. And if this message is for you, you might have not grown up with a strong uh, basis of faith in your surroundings. Maybe there wasn't a lot of talk of faith. Maybe people around you didn't have a whole lot of faith. And I'm not talking anything religious or even necessarily spiritual. What I'm talking about is just having that optimism and trust in life and the universe and God to work things out, and this belief that things are working out for the best, and this ability to lean on that in times of hardship or challenges or tests. You didn't grow up witnessing that. You didn't grow up soaking that up. So you saw it in other people. Maybe you knew other people that were religious and they seemed to have it. Maybe you have tried at times in your life to have it as well. Because what I'm getting is this message is for a full grown up, like an adult who has, maybe at times in their life tried to be a person that had more faith in some kind of higher power. If this message is for you, you do believe in a higher power. What I'm getting is an experiential belief. So whoever this message is for, if you believe in God or the universe, you may be a little bit more agnostic about it, and it all comes from a personal first-hand experience where you feel like you have experienced certain things that made you believe in God. You have experienced things that made you feel like, well, there is some kind of a large plan behind things, even if I couldn't see it before. And so you may not fully be informed on these things. You may have not gone deep into these things, but it is something that you've developed in your adult life on your own through your own experiences. Maybe to you it translates a little bit into believing in paranormal, or maybe a fascination with paranormal activity, or maybe I'm getting something about aliens, things that seem fringe or outside of the normal perception of life. And again, it's because you don't have a religious background, nor a spiritual background, nor inclination, what I'm getting. And it's mostly you didn't see it growing up. You only maybe saw it from afar, from religious individuals, in a way that it was just completely unrelatable to you. Like you couldn't really relate to it, and maybe to this day you can't. And so you're searching for meaning, maybe in science, maybe in astronomy, not astrology, astronomy. Yeah, like so there's something here about maybe looking for answers in space and in science. Like maybe you've just been looking. Maybe you're a person who's been looking for meaning, and this all comes from a place of feeling like you have experienced enough on your own to understand that there is some kind of greater power, but you don't feel like you are intimate with it enough to be the kind of person who has faith, or who understands what's happening, or who can navigate the world in a spiritual way. Whenever you try to do that, you feel like it's like the people and examples that you see are not resonant with you. You just don't resonate, and you don't feel like it's you, and it doesn't help. Because of that, it almost makes you feel like is the bigger gap. You feel a bigger gap between you and these concepts. Okay, so what's happening here is you're seeking something that is within you, outside of yourself. Okay, and it's normal that you're doing that growing up in this society, Western society, which, because I'm getting that this is mostly for a person from a Western society, because even if you were not surrounded by religious people, there's really this mainstream message that spiritual meaning and faith and all of that is to be found in an outside source, in a religion, in a church, something like that. And that's, organized religions benefit from that program, obviously, but it is not true. Okay, We all have access to a personal experience of God because we are God. We are part of God. This God is just everything, like going back to science, energy is everything, right? Everything is energy. Well, substitute the word energy for God and, look at basic physics and you will understand a lot more than you might understand from reading any spiritual book. Okay, so given that you are part of this thing we call God, you can experience it from your own point of view, probably better than doing the gymnastics, the mental gymnastics to try and experience it in yourself through someone else. So if you're looking, no, if you're struggling with finding this sense of faith and direction in your life and groundness in, a sense of meaning and purpose that you see in this other spiritual people and that you feel is inaccessible to you, if that's what you're looking for and that's what you're trying to figure out, the message I'm getting a message, but I also have a recommendation. So I'm gonna say first the message. The message is inside of you, and that's where you need to look. So you need to follow the breadcrumbs of your spirituality from within. Start thinking about when was the earliest memory, what's your earliest memory of you having any thoughts of God, any thoughts of faith, or any thoughts of praying, and why did you go there and what did your mind do with it, and try to reverse engineer the path to your inner sense of divinity, okay? Of what in you looked for that, okay? And you will see that it has something to do with an aspect of yourself that wasn't being met other places. So oftentimes people will have this first memory of seeking God when something bad happened, something scary happened, and they were feared. They were afraid for their life, or they were afraid for someone else's life, something like that. That's when they search for that. Now, the people who find it inside. The people who keep searching for it find something outside that didn't quite deliver, okay? So if you're able to figure that out, you can go back to that initial thing. If you were a person who initially looked outside, which I think you weren't, because then you would be a person who has a religion or something like that, it would be a different issue. So this message is for the person who, wherever way you found to soothe yourself, that was your first connection to God, and you have it in you. Because as children, the first time we reach for God, we usually touch it unless we get in touch with it, unless there's an outside religion telling us how to do it. So try and go back to that, to reignite that sense of capability to connect with God from within. Okay, so that's the message. And then my advice is you want to start some kind of practice, daily practice, when you try to get your attention, your energy, your body, and your emotions all focused on your inner, on your soul, on your sense of and soothing yourself to a place of well-being. And once you have your soul in that place of alignment, okay, I guess it's what many people call meditation. So maybe start meditating, okay? And that's very helpful. So hopefully this was helpful in general.